Hi, boys and girls. Welcome to the introduction for our Lesson 4 Read Aloud, The Wild Wood. Can anyone name the 4 seasons of the year? Think to yourself, what are the 4 seasons we experience? Fall, winter, spring, and summer. How would you describe each of those seasons to someone? How do the changing seasons affect animals and plants? Do we see more animals in the summertime or in the wintertime? So far in The Wind in the Willows, we've experienced spring and summer. The seasons we haven't experienced yet in the story are fall and winter. Do you remember the difference between dialogue and narration? Remember that dialogue is showing us when the characters are talking. Narration is when the author is telling the story, and dialogue uses quotation marks. Do you remember what perspective is? Perspective is how someone sees or experiences something. It's a literary tool, like dialogue and narration, that lets the reader know from whose experience we are learning more about the story. Perspective, just like dialogue in a story, can shift from one character to another. So that means that we might hear part of the story from Mole's perspective and part of the story from Rat's perspective. Listen carefully in our Chapter 4 Wildwood Read Aloud for a shift, a change in perspective. This chapter is called The Wild Wood. What do you see in this picture? Think to yourself. Describe what you see in the picture to yourself. Do you remember the conversation Rat and Mole had about the wild wood in our very first read aloud? Let's listen. "What lies over there?" asked the Mole, waving a paw towards a background of woodland that darkly framed the water meadows on one side of the river. "Well," replied the Rat hesitantly, "that's the wild wood. We don't go there too often." "Are there scary creatures there?" Mole asked, trying not to tremble. "The squirrels are all right," Rat replied, "and the rabbits, some of them, but rabbits are a mixed lot. And then there's Badger, of course. He lives right in the heart of it. Wouldn't live anywhere else, either. Dear old Badger, nobody interferes with him." "Why? Who should interfere with him?" asked the Mole. "Well, of course there are others," explained the Rat in a hesitating sort of way. "Weasels, stoats, foxes, and so on. They're all right in a way. I'm very good friends with them, pass the time of day when we meet, but you can't trust them, and that's a fact." So that's a little refresher of what the wild wood is. I'm excited to find out what happens in today's story.